Hi, welcome to Street Priest Ministries. I'm your host, Brother Jay. We're taking the Gospels back to the streets. Today's drive-through message is Gripped by Fear. Gideon, Kadesh, Barnea. One thing I've always never liked, you guys that follow Street Priests are fully aware, hear me say this, is bully and cowards, or cowards and bullies. A bully is just a coward in reverse. Today we're going to talk about cowardice. Neither one I really can stand in my presence. The reason we have this nation, this great nation, the United States, this nation was settled by brave men. They wasn't cowards. The Pilgrims were Christians. They carried a Bible in one hand and gunpowder and musket in the other. That's the kind of Christians that settled this nation. You had a perfect storm going. Even the so-called founding fathers were Masons of the synagogue of Satan, but yet they were fleeing persecution as well as the Christians. So you had a perfect storm that formed this great nation, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, both seeking safety, informed Lex Rex, the king, the lawless king, to protect religious freedoms and their beliefs. The Masons was being hunted down and killed in Europe, and the Christians were going through the same plight. So it was a perfect storm that formed this nation. Even though the end game for the Christians dealing with the synagogue of Satan was annihilation in the end. Just using them to piggyback on. They just want to sit up there and land in utopia and just use the Christians to do so. Nothing's changed. But as Christians, you read in 2 Timothy 1:7, God has not given us a spirit of fear. 2 Timothy 1:7. We don't have a spirit of fear. And cowardice has so paralyzed the church that the church is impotent. A bunch of cowards. And God raised up a man called Trump. That's a broad. It's fearless. But still, we, as the Church of God, Church of Christ, we're to be on this battlefield and do our part too. Wars are won when each individual gets out of the foxhole and acts like the whole war depends on him. You can't sit around and say, yay, Trump. Give me a T. Give me a R. Give me a U. Give me a M. Give me a P. Yay, Trump. Go, Trump. No. We're to rise up and do our part in this warfare. That's why the witches and the wizards are running circles around the Christians. Hollywood is the Pied Piper of the witches and wizards. They're sweeping the country, sweeping the world, sweeping the land with sorcery. Because of a feckless, fearful, paralyzed, impotent church that don't understand who the enemy is and how to fight the enemy. So like an ostrich with his head in the sand, praying, instead of getting on this battlefield and going to war. Nothing wrong with prayer. But God called us to do more than prayer. Give my teaching, possess the land. I got a series of teaching where we're to do our part, but that's one of them. This is a message too for those that think they're exempt on this battlefield called earth. That's what God called us to do. So many Christians are paralyzed with fear, and especially with tomorrow. Jesus said, take no thought for tomorrow. Or what's going to happen tomorrow? And so many are gloom and doom. will want to see this nation fall. And God called this nation. This nation's called a God. I almost said it. Well, I'm glad I had to check myself. Almost said so. This nation, all you gloom and doom and want to see America become Babylon. We're not Babylon. This nation's, I get my teaching on Isaiah 18. This nation's called a God. And sure, this nation had backslidden, just like you backslid in your life. But that's because of a feckless, fearful church that's supposed to be salt of the earth. The salt loses the saltiness. Jesus said men are trampled all over the salt. It's good for nothing but to be trampled. The church has become sugar instead of salt. That's why the corruption is at the all-time levels that you see now. That's why God had to raise up a man like Trump to clean house. Because the church laid down a long time ago. A lot of them become corrupt themselves, sold out. Sam's and Sally's behind the pulpits. Not resisted. The Bible said we're to resist the devil. We're to resist the spirit of the Antichrist and the false prophet. That's our role. If not, you see what happened. Why corruption became so pervasive. Why sorcery became so pervasive. Because of a feckless church. And that's what this message is, to hopefully inspire you to stop being an ostrich with your head in the sand and get out here on this battlefield. Kind of get out of your foxhole. Not like the whole war depends on you. Become a brawler for God. That's what God looking for. What we're looking here for is street priest ministry. Looking for black belts in spiritual combats. I don't want them to do like a little nursery school, Cub Scouts for Jesus. It's baking cookies. I don't want that bunch. Go somewhere else. If that's you, I believe an elimination is necessary to the health of the whole. Body politic is assimilation. Go somewhere else. I get rid of people all the time. You just said you're not working out. It's life. Used to be what made America great. Show me a person that likes to lose or don't mind losing, I'll show you a loser. Brother Jay always roll with the winners, baby. And that's what I want. Around street priest ministry. Winners for Jesus. Not paralyzed. Baby tarred for Jesus. I don't want that bunch. Honey drippers for Jesus. I don't want that bunch. God's raising up an army. The street priest is a part of that army. To take it to the devil. To take it to the devil's kingdom. God has equipped us spiritually to do so. You got the Spirit of God. You got the power of God. Jesus said, behold, I've given you power to tread upon serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. And nothing by any means shall hurt you. Luke 10:17. We are empowered already. But you utilize that power. David said, what time I'm afraid, I will trust in the Lord. Don't let fear paralyze you. Don't let fear grip you to where it causes inaction. Be an Action Jackson for Jesus. That's what Brother Jay's looking for. Action Jacksons for Jesus. God's had enough of these. It's the average Christian. Now, turn to Deuteronomy. This is two messages in one. Turn to Deuteronomy 1. Deuteronomy 1. I'm going to read about another bunch God had wiped out, and now he's bringing their kids into the promised land because of fear. They let fear grip them so bad that God wiped them out. So get ready. I'm wiping this 2.25 million cowards out. I'm wiping them out. God enlisted them to fight. They said, no, God, you do the fight, and we'll hang back and pray. We'd rather fight you than the giants. Now, these be the words Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan, in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban and Hazor, and Dizlah. They are 11 days' journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir into Kadesh Barnea. Now God took them full circle. Kadesh Barnea means place of halting, where they halted, 11 miles from Promised Land. That original bunch had laid down on God. And paralyzed with fear. Said, we be like grasshoppers. Now the giants, did put flesh and blood. They were dealing with real giants. These giants range from anywhere from 9 to 15 feet tall. And the average Israelite around that time was like close to 5 feet tall. It's the average height, the men in Israel. So they did look like grasshoppers. But God's bigger than the giants. And they saw giants instead of God. That's why God wiped that bunch out. They're 11 days' journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir into Kadesh Barnea. And it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spake unto the children of Israel, according to all that the Lord had given him in the commandment unto him, after he had slain Sihon, king of Amorites, which dwelt in Heshbon, and Og. These are all giants. Now, this is historical fact. A lot of, archaeology has done more to prove the Bible right. Paleontology than anything. They done discovered these cities and these kings. These were giants. 12 to 15 feet tall. Og, the king of Bashan, which dwelt in Ashtaroth, in Edrei, on this side of Jordan, in the land of Moab, began Moses to declare this law, saying, The Lord our God spake unto us in Horeb, saying, We have dwelt long enough in this mountain. Tarry here no more. You dwelt long enough. Time to move out. The problem with a lot of Christians, they become stagnated. Get my teaching, I believe it's old wine, new wine. I think that's video where I teach where God treats us like wine. You don't want wine to settle on its lees and become bitter. So you go from vat to vat. Keep the wine from becoming vinegar. A lot of vinaigrette Christians out there. Done settled on their lease a long time. Christian retirement homes, convalescent homes for Jesus, funeral homes. The Lord our God speaking to us at Horeb, said, We have dwelt long enough in this mountain. Turn you and take your journey. We're on a journey. The Bible said we're pilgrims and strangers down here on a journey. Our destination is heaven if you're a Christian. Your true destination. Not here on this earth. This earth is not our home. We're passing through. In the meanwhile, this is battlefield earth. And we have an enemy. A bully enemy that's invisible. That wants to keep you from reaching your eternal destiny, your home heaven. That's his job. He wants you participate in his eternal home. Be partakers with his eternal home. With him for eternity. So you better understand his ways and his wiles. And part of it, one of the favorite tools of the devil is fear. If you had a drawer full of tools that he loved to use to get Christians into hell with him, fear is one of them. Did you read Revelations? I believe it's Revelations 20, I'm not sure. Of those that the Bible outlines as being thrown into the lake of fire, the fearful was one of them. For God has not given us a spirit of fear. Started out quoting that, 1 Timothy 1:7. God didn't give us a spirit of fear. So where's that spirit coming from? Satan. Turn you and take your journey. God's bringing them full circle, right back to the same spot 40 years ago. That their fathers, that these are the children that he's bringing into the promised land, but that their fathers failed. He's bringing them right back to the same spot. They faced them giants again. Turn you and take your journey, and go to the mount of the Amorites, and unto the places nigh therein, in the plain, in the hills, and in the vale, and in the south. This is like going into a vicious gang neighborhood, except they're giants. They take the turf away from them, and get in the boot, kill them, run them out, and they occupy their turf. Put flesh and blood on it. Giants are worse than any gangbanger. But that's I'm just, all analogies break down. But that's the mentality they had. This is our turf. And they were ruthless and protective. And carnivorous at that. Not only will they kill you, they'll eat you. Nigh thereunto in the plain, in the hills, and in the vale, and in the south, by the seaside, to the land of the Canaanites, and unto Lebanon, and unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land, which the Lord sware unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give unto them, and their seed after them. God keeps his promises. God, the Bible says, forever, Lord, thy word is still in heaven. God is not a man, that he shall lie, neither the son of man shall he repent. Said, have he not said, and shall he not do? Have he spoken, shall he not make it good? Numbers 23:13. God keeps his word. And it offends God when you don't take him at his word. He said, I got your back. Go kill the enemy. I got your back. Possess the land. I got your back. I'm giving you the land. Whole earth is his. Do what he wants with it and give it to whom he wants. And take out whom he wants to give it to whom he wants. And I spake unto you at the time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. The Lord your God hath multiplied you, and behold, ye are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude. Moses done got old, and he had to go in circle. My God killed that last fearful bunch, y'all, for 40 years. And he said they done multiplied again up to probably 2.25 million, 3 million, just like before. The Lord God of your fathers make you 1,000 times so many more as ye are. They multiply like bunny. And bless you as he hath promised you. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance and your burden and your strife? Take you wise men of understanding and known among the tribes, and I will make them rulers over you. And ye answer me and say, the thing which thou hast spoken is good for us to do today. So I took the chief of your tribes. Moses said, the congregation's gotten too large for me to handle. So I'm setting up a church board. Wise men and known, and made them heads over you. Captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over 50s, and captains over 10s, and officers among your tribes. And I charge your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the strangers that is with you. Judge righteously. Don't pervert judgment. No bribes. The poor is held to the same standard as the law. as the rich noble. No distinction. Of course, you rich and you violate the law, you go to jail. Just like the beggar sitting by the gate if he breaks the law. That's what God set up for his nation and his people, including this nation that lost its way. This was what God is judging now. Lawlessness in this nation. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment. You hear that? Crooked judges out there. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear small as well as great. That's what I just said. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man. You shall not be afraid of the face of man. Jesus said the same thing. He said, fear not man that can kill the flesh. But I tell you whom to fear. Fear him who has the power to kill the flesh. Has the power to wipe you out and throw your soul into hell. Fear him. And that's who I fear. That's who Brother Jay fear. Don't fear no man. Care less what man think, God away. Fear God. If you fear God, you'll fear God displaces the fear of me. For the fear of anything man can do to you. That's what Jesus was saying. And I've had that trip to hell. So God gave me a personal tour. So I definitely, it's instilled in me to fear him. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's, and the cause is too hard for you. Bring it unto me, and I will hear. He said, if you can't make a decision, come to me, but use me as your last resort. Moses wore out with this bunch here. He's been leading for over 40 years. And they've been a pebble in his shoe, pebble in his sandals. And I commanded you at that time all things which ye should do. And when we departed from Moab, we went through all the great and terrible wilderness, which we saw by the way of the mountain of the Amorites, as the Lord our God commanded us. And we came at Kadesh Barnea. And I said unto you, ye are coming to the mountain of the Amorites, which the Lord our God doth give unto us. Behold, the Lord our God has set the land before thee. Go up and possess it. You go up and possess it. God didn't say, hold on, sit right here. And I'm going to send some angels, Michael and the boys, to wipe your enemies out while you guys sit here and pray. That's the way the church world looks at the Bible. Behold, the Lord thy God has set the land before thee. Go up and possess it, as the Lord God thy fathers have said unto thee. Fear not, fear not, fear not. Go up and possess the land. Fear not. Fear not. Fear not. Say it. Don't pretend we in church. Congregation. And the congregation says, fear not. And the congregation says, fear not. Close I ever sounded as a preacher. Fear not. Neither be discouraged. Don't get discouraged. Don't get worrisome, and worries. Want to quit. We all go through that. I go through. I get discouraged sometimes. Don't be in part of him. But I get a shot in the arm of God's word. That's what his word is for. To get encouragement for being discouraged. God's word. I turn to God's word. It's my source of encouragement to keep it moving. Especially in this Orwellian age that Brother Jay lived in. I belong in the 18th century. Fear not, neither be discouraged. And we came near unto every one of you, and said, we will send men before us, and they shall search us out the land, spies, and bring us word again, by which way we must go up, unto what cities we shall come. Here go the spies again. Now, the earlier spies from that bunch that got wiped out in the wilderness, they sent out 10 spies. And only 2 of them, Joshua and Caleb, said we could take these giants on. The other 8 said the giants are going to wipe us off the face of the map. They're going to destroy us. We can't take these giants on. And the people became gripped with fear and listened to that 8 instead of Joshua and Caleb. And it pleased me, saying, well, I took 12 men of you of one tribe, and they turned and went up into the mountain and came into the valley of Eshcol and searched it out. And they took of the fruit of the land in their hands and brought it down unto us and brought us word again and said, it is good land which the Lord our God hath given us. They brought proof that it was a good land. Fruit from the land. Notwithstanding, ye shall not go up, but rebelled against the commandment of the Lord your God. And ye murmured in your tents, and said, because the Lord hated us, he hath brought us forth out of the land of Egypt. Let a slave be a slave. Let a slave be a slave. Egypt represents bondage. Type of the sin, a bondage of the world, flesh, and the devil. That's what Egypt represents. God supernaturally, through miracles, delivered his people from that bondage. Through his power. Only his power can set you free of the world, flesh, and the devil. Which Egypt represented, the bondage, the sin in the Old Testament. And God delivered. But they had a slave mentality. They wanted to return to bondage. Christ talks about that in the New Testament. Those delivered from whatever type of bondage that Christ had delivered you from. Christ referred to you as a dog returning to his vomit, or a pig returning to the mire, the mud, to wallow in after being delivered through the power of God's Spirit. It was the same with this bunch. Let a slave be a slave. Notwithstanding, ye would not go up, but ye rebelled against the commandment of the Lord your God, and ye murmured in your tents. How many Christian murmurers do you know? That's all they do is complain, whine. Like I said, vinaigrettes. Christian vinaigrettes, bitter. I've been around a lot of them. I'll get away from them. Now, they don't get to stay around me. Oh no, Brother Jay removes that type from his presence. So always whining, nagging, complaining. Sour pussies for Jesus. And ye murmured in your tents and said, because the Lord hateth us. God delivered them with all those miracles. Fed them manna. 40 years in the wilderness, led them. Killed, wiped out their enemies. Wiped out old Pharaoh and his crew. But he hated them. He brought them out there so he can kill them. Could have just as well killed them in Egypt. See, when you get insane, you get way insane. You go way up. You don't make no kind of sense at all. And ye murmured in your tents, and said, because the Lord hateth us, he hath brought us forth out of the land of Egypt. to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. That don't make no sense whatsoever. Could have just left you in Egypt for Pharaoh to kill you. He didn't have to deliver you at all. Slave mentality. Whether ye shall go up, our brethren have discouraged our hearts, saying, the people is greater and taller than we. In the natural, yes, but we as Christians should be dealing in the supernatural. That's what God was trying to get there. God's greater than the tallest man on earth, the strongest man on earth, the most valiant fighter on earth. God could spit on him and wipe him out. No match for God. Whether we should go up, our brethren have discouraged our hearts, saying, the people is greater and taller than we. The cities are great and walled up to heaven. That's true. They've discovered those walled cities. Like the wall of China. And moreover, we have seen the sons of Anakims there, giants. Then I said unto you, dread not, neither be ye afraid of them. Dread not, neither be ye afraid of them. Fear not. Don't let fear grip. Don't let fear grip you, paralyze you. The Lord your God, which goeth before you, he shall fight for you. See God instead of the giants. It's God that's going before us. God is giving this nation victory over our giants. He's held this great nation down to God called the United States of America. God slaying giants right in front of you. Giants has held this nation hostage for decades, in bondage for decades. God's breaking the bands right in front of you.